Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bhedu Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gokarasto Andhakaro Vai Rukarasto Nivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as you know, we begin the class with going over the structure and form of Nididhyasanam. Pardon me. Of meditation, Vedantic meditation, Nididhyasanam. So we borrow that from the Aparokshanubhuti, and very appropriately, Aparokshanubhuti gives the details of how to meditate, when to meditate, in 15 steps, as you know. We already have gone through that. So we have gone through 4 steps so far: Yama, Niyama, Tyaga, and the last few classes we did was Maunam, silence. The significance of each one of them from the standpoint of the Vedantic teaching, Advaita Vedantic teaching, not Dvaita Vedanta. That's the Purva Mimamsa, but Advaita, which is the final Jnanam. So we've gone through 4 of them. So today we will do number 5 and possibly number 6, but I think just number 5, which is called Desha. Desha means the place. So what it means is where to meditate. Where to meditate. This is the topic for today. So here it is perhaps both a popular way of looking at it, and also our internalized idea of what the popular way is, that one should meditate in a quiet place. Even I have mentioned that to you in meditation, that please do this every day and do this in a quiet place. So I have also said that, and we are not going back on it. But doing meditation in a quiet place, by the way, all of this is from Aparokshanubhuti. These are not my personal ideas. This is all a enunciation of what Aparokshanubhuti is saying. Adi Shankara is saying to us that meditating in a quiet place is a good start. It's a good start, and it should be done in that manner. But it should be seen to be only a start. When you are starting to become a little bit more familiar and you have more competence in Nididhyasanam, then the place for meditation takes on a new meaning. So this is what we are going to study today. This is in that sense, perhaps one can even contrast paroksha anubhuti and aparoksha anubhuti. So paroksha anubhuti means an introduction, shravanam. But aparoksha anubhuti means that you have done now a lot of mananam as well, and you are ready to become much more advanced in practicing, if you want to call it practicing, the lessons of Vedanta. Okay, so they call aparoksha anubhuti. So there, desha and kala, which is going to be next, both desha and kala come next to each other, which is place as well as time, take on a new meaning for people that want to graduate to the next stage. What is that? This is what is being talked about today. So that's an introduction to it. So in the beginning we say, please find a quiet place to meditate. Okay? Eventually, you have to practice meditation at any place, whether it is quiet or not. And if it is not possible for you to do so, that means you have some more work to do. So we have so many examples given by the Mahatmas where they caution you the problems in only trying to meditate in a quiet place, because you become dependent on the quiet place. Swami Dayanand ji had given this example, and Swami Akhandananda ji, who is one who is really giving the commentary on the Aparoksha Bhuta, has given very similar commentary on it, examples for it. So let me give you both of them. Swami Dayanand ji gave an example that, and I think I've mentioned this to you in some of the previous classes, that when he was teaching in Rishikesh very early on, when people were starting to get attracted by his teaching, and so a lot of people would just come and just listen to him, and he used to have a small hut where, it was the whole Rishikesh ashram had not yet been built, and but he was getting very popular in terms of attracting students. So one of the students was a Swami, and he became a great devotee of Swami Dayanand ji. And then one day he said, Swamiji, do you know somebody in Uttarkashi? Uttarkashi is a place higher up in the Himalayas from Rishikesh. I'm not exactly sure how far it is. My guess would be like within 100 kilometers, maybe 60 miles, less than that, something like that, on the banks of river Ganga. And so he said, Swamiji, you know some people in Uttarkashi, I want to go there. So Swamiji said, fine, I'll be happy to help you, but why do you want to go to Uttarkashi? He says, Rishikesh is too noisy for me. And it really is. If you go to Rishikesh, except for early morning or something, the hustle and bustle of life is just honks of the rickshaws, auto rickshaws, and people, and so on and so forth. So he said, this is too noisy for me, I want to go to Uttarkashi. So Swamiji said, okay, I'll recommend somebody to house you there, and so fine. So he says he left. A few months later, 4 or 5 months later, Swamiji found him back in Rishikesh. So he said, hey, what happened? I thought you were in Uttarkashi. He says, well, I began there, and in the morning, my meditation, I do it in the morning. So he says, but I found the noise of the birds to be intolerable. Intolerable, because they are all over the ashram, and they were shrieking and making funny noises, and I could not meditate. And I tried my best to do so. I could not meditate. So I'm back here, and I don't know what to do. He was frustrated. So this is one example that Swamiji gave of this is the wrong way of looking at things. Okay, expecting everything to be very quiet before you can meditate. Relatively speaking, it's okay, but then going forward with an advanced meditation, not proper. Swami Akhandananda also gave the similar example. He said that he says that when I was in he was from a village, Swami Akhandananda. Very beautiful the way he was brought up. He even at the age of 5, he began to follow some swamis, and left his home for long periods of time. Very beautiful way of how this came about. Anyway, so he says, I remember that when I became a teacher where people could see that I have something to really tell. I don't know whether he had already received his, he has become a Swami yet or not. I wasn't clear. But he says that what I would do is I would go to a field near the village, and where some crops are brought up, and I would find a quiet place in the middle of the field, and I'll just meditate. But he said, what will happen is that the villagers will find me, and they would ask me, do you need some help? Can we give you some water? And by the way, what are you doing? What exactly are you? Who are you praying to? So please tell us a little bit more about that. So he says there was the disturbance of people there. He says I could never really find a assured place for doing meditation. Then he says that so he was in a village close to the Ganga near Varanasi, near Kashi. So we were very fond of Ganga, the river Ganges. And so he says that I would go and sit there and meditate on the banks of the Ganga. But there were so many mosquitoes and little bugs and so on. And when they find a warm body, they would all just congregate. And he says, I was just doing this all the time. And he says, my meditation was very, very disturbed. There was another example that he gave about that. So what does it really mean? So this is given so if this is not the meditation, then what should I do? So this is given in the Aparoksha Anubhuti on verse number 110. And it says, because all of these are based on specific mantras of Aparoksha Anubhutis. Adavante cha madhye cha jano yasminna vidyate yena idam satatam vyaptam sa desho vijana smritaha. Adavante cha madhye cha jano yasminna vidyate yena idam satatam vyaptam sa desha vijana smritaha. So he says the ekantaha that place is the appropriate, which has no beginning, no middle, and no end, and it is always there. That is the place which is recommended as meditation. So it's interesting that it's not like you go to Himalayas or anything like this. This is a very insightful and very important advice given. So again, he says, Saha deshaha vijanaha smritaha. Vijanaha means one which is not born. One which is not born. And so it's interesting. Let me just translate this. Adau antecha. Adau means beginning. Ante means the end. Adavantecha madhyecha. One that has a sense of presence in the middle, kind of like this was born and now it is there. So that's the form of madhya, and not an exact middle. There's no exact middle, but sthiti. Sthiti means that you are very aware of the presence of it. Okay, so one that is, he says the place for meditation is not the one, yasmin na vidyate, one which is not known to have a beginning or an end or a presence in front of you. He says, Janaha yasmin na vidyate. If you think about that as the place, then it is not the place. Then what? So the first line is what it is not. The second line is what it is. Yena idam satatam vyaptam sahadeshaha vijanasmritaha. So he says that the desha being one of the 15 steps of Nididhyasanam, which he has already given in the very beginning. There is a section of Parokshanubhuti where he says, now I'm going to give you the 15 different aspects of an effective meditation. So we are now on number 5, and number 5 is the place. So he says that where the place is appropriate, he has already said what is not appropriate. Where it is appropriate is yena idam satatam vyaptam, a place which is never not there. By which place nothing is not enveloped. Kind of like an ornament which is never not gold. So similarly, yena idam satatam vyaptam sadeshaha vijanasmritaha. So that is the one which is considered to be ekantaha. Ekantaha means you can say the place. So here I'm using the words carefully in English. This is where the differences are in Sanskritam and in English, or even in Indian vernacular languages like in Hindi. Ekantaha means one which is alone. So not lonely. So the word lonely has a different connotation, because the word lonely means I need something. I am bereft of some company. I'm very lonely. Alone, however, although the words are not immediately expressive in English, but even the word alone also has some sense of loneliness. So it's not a very correct word. But ekantaha means where you want to be, by yourself. This is the meaning of ekantaha. And so Swami Akhandananda ji has given that translation of the word vijanaha. Vijanaha means ekanta, means you are, in fact, you are purnaha, you are complete. You may need successful meditation. Okay? So this is just the word meanings of this. I haven't really explained the whole thing yet. So I'm just giving you the word meanings of this particular verse. Again, finally, Adavante cha madhye cha janaha yasmin na vidyate yena idam satatam vyaptam sadeshaha vijanasmritaha. So this is the word meanings. I'm not even sure that I have completely done that, but I think I have given you the sense of it. Now let's understand what it really means. So the sense of this, so let me give you two aspects of this which I would like to convey. Okay? And both are recommended in various ways in the Vedantic teaching, especially by Mahatmas like Swami Akhandananda ji and so on. What it says is that the ultimate place is an appreciation of you as a witness, as a sakshi, as the antaratma, as the jivatma, as the atma, aham. Okay? So this aham, appreciation of aham, means I, the Atma, as the Sakshi, should be and can be done at any place. So when you are looking for a quiet place, like we gave in the examples about the person going to Uttarkashi or so on, your focus is on things that are bothering you, that are binding you, that are limiting you, isn't it? Because you're talking about noise. So that means your mind is really thinking about all the noise coming from outside, bird noise. All these villagers that find you sitting there in the middle of their fields, and this is an unusual sight, you should be working. What were you doing there sitting? So this is an external thing that you're focusing on. This is not the place for meditation. And if you want to, in the beginning, eliminate these disturbances, that is okay. That is the proper way to look at it, because you cannot even begin to meditate until you have an appreciation of yourself in a quiet place. But eventually, what you need to do, even as a practice, so this is the second part of what I wanted to. I remember I told you I would like to convey two things. So the second part I'll come to in a minute, but the first part is that to appreciate your nature as a sakshi can and should be done at any place. And all it means is, it may be unfamiliar to you in the beginning because you are naturally focused on things that you observe, and your evaluation of yourself as a person who is somewhat dependent on things outside, that is okay. But your ability to then slowly shift the focus from outside to yourself is the proper way to look at it. Okay, so this is the first part. Okay, now let me go to the second part and then we will put the two of them together. So here, what is recommended is, and we have gone over this before, and the example, if I can tell you, is that if when you are very hungry, you know, this is Swami Dayanandaji's very famous Sapta Vada Nyaya, where a person goes in, he says, how much is vada? The person says 1 rupee. So he says, okay, give me 7, no, he says, okay, give me a vada. And he says, will it satisfy my hunger? So he says, yeah, it's a big size one, and yeah, it should make you less hungry, yes. So he says, okay, give me one. So after one vada, he said, I'm still hungry, give me another one. So he ate 7 of them. So when he was going to go out and pay, he only gave the 1 rupee. So he says, sir, you ate 7 vadas, I need 7 rupees. So he says, only the last one gave me complete satisfaction. And you told me that the vada will give complete satisfaction. No, satisfaction, you can take out the word complete, but satisfaction. The first 6 ones did not give me any satisfaction. So this is a very important thing to really see. This is a funny story. That's one of the favorite stories of Swami Dayanandaji, but a very, very important one, really. So why is this so importantly funny? Is our study of Vedanta. So the study of Vedanta, you know, we talk about Vedanta, then one of the results of Vedanta is that you'll be very happy. Why am I studying all this? Because you will be very happy. As opposed to eating ice cream and so on, other things in my life, if you study Vedanta, you'll be very happy. Really? Yeah, very happy. Okay. So you start studying. So you go through Kena Upanishad, then you go through Bhagavad Gita, you through this. You're still not happy. You're still not happy. So you study some more, you attend some more classes, some Swami or Swamini is coming and he says, yes, I must go there. You go to retreats and so on. Still not very happy. Okay? So now like not paying for the vada, you are not really appreciative of it. Then finally, hopefully, the whole thing becomes very clear, you are satisfied with yourself, and you become happy. So this is not the way to study. This is not the way to study. Then what is the way to study? The way to study is, as the introduction to Atma Vidya takes place, you should invoke it from time to time. You should see, you should utilize it, you should claim it, as Swami Paramarthananda, his famous words. You claim it from the very beginning. In other words, here's what happens when you start eating food. It's not as though you become happy at the end. As your hunger is being satisfied step by step, you become step by step happier. Similarly, you are encouraged that as you see things, even they might be noisy, your drishti should be towards yourself as a sakshi. But we don't. We don't have the habit of doing so, and perhaps we don't have the shraddha, we don't have a lot of other things. So we don't really do it. So we kind of wait for the end to occur. Here it says, please, desha means all places you should begin to invoke it. And until you start invoking it, until you start practicing this, you can use the word practicing, until you start really, because it's there, but you're not utilizing the fact that you are the very Sakshi. If you didn't know about it before, no introduction was given to you, then it was okay, I understand it. But if it has been given to you, you have to start to invoke it. Anyway, I find that I'm almost done with this, but I still need some more time. So we will, in the form of revising it in the next week, we will finish doing this, because the way I want to present this in terms of desha, I think I've given you the elements, but there is something more to do to close this off. So we will defer the rest of the Upadesha about desha to next week. Okay, so with that I close the class today. So let's do the Dhyana Shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Manmunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandaddhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramo Upanishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyana Vastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidussura suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So I think what we will do, we'll get into a habit of chanting 5 verses in the beginning of the class. I wish I could have more time to do more, but let's just do 5. So we will start with verse number 13 and chant 5 verses from the 2nd chapter. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiras tatra namuhyati matrasparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama paino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata yam hi navyathyantyete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrittatvaya kalpate nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostattvadarshibhihi avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Okay. So we were in the middle of verse number 16. Nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayos tattvadarshibihi. This is the verse. So where we were, we had finished going over the first quarter of the verse. First quarter of the verse said, na asataha vidyate bhavaha. So this is all to follow up Sri Krishna's teaching to Arjuna that you're feeling bad about this war is uncalled for, because what you think you are doing, which is killing someone, is not true. It may seem like you're killing someone, but you cannot kill anyone. The reality of anyone is that they were really never born. They are always there, and you cannot kill them. It is not something that can be subject to any killing. So this is being explained in the very fundamental, foundational verse of number 16, an important verse in that sense. Na sato vidyate bhavaha. So then, of course, when you say that you are being foolishly worried about the war, you have to explain why. There, in the first quarter of the verse number 16, he had provided the evidence and the logic for why this is the case. Because Arjuna said, I don't understand why you're saying I am not killing, because it's very right in front of me. If I put a sword on it, or in the modern parlance, if I just trigger a gun and kill someone, he's dead. So how are you saying that? So here Krishna says that, so this is what is called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha pramana. So let's look at the word pratyaksha pramana. This is what Arjuna is saying. He says that it is pratyaksha pramana. I can see it in front of my eyes. That's the meaning of the word pratyaksha. And the eyes are the ultimate source of proving something. Yeah, I see somebody falling down and stopping to breathe, and the body being injured, that is a pratyaksha, that is a pramana. So here, the whole analysis of the first quarter was nasato vidyate bhava, means this is not a valid pratyaksha pramana. How can you say that? So there it says that a pratyaksha, a pramana, means abadhitam. The definition of pramana means it should never be violated. Abhaditam. That is the definition of the pramana. So he asks Arjuna, don't you think that should be the definition? Arjuna says, yeah, but it is, I can see a person being killed, so it is abhaditam. He says it's not abhaditam. Why? Because your eyes and the rest of the sense organs, they are only relative pramanas. They are not absolute pramanas. Meaning, they would appear to give you the truth, but the changes in the thing they are not able to capture. They give you a signal that yes, this thing, somebody is being killed, but you don't realize that it is just the form of the person being killed. The eyes are incapable of looking at the formless reality behind the form. That's not true. So it is not a pratyaksha pramana. So there he gives the examples that just like you see, you appear to see silver in a useless piece of tin foil lying on a beach. You can say, I saw it, my eyes saw it was silver. You thought it was what appeared to be silver, but it is not silver. Similarly, that example is given because you go towards it. Or if you want to recoil from it, then you can take the example of Rajju Sarpa, of seeing a snake in a rope. You're unnecessarily concluding that this is a very dangerous thing, when in fact it's just a harmless little rope sitting there. And so he gave through all these examples that this is not pramana. Okay, so he says that one which does not have its own sat, na asataha vidyate bhavaha. That means that the bhava means an absolute conclusion, cannot be given for something that does not have its own sat. It may be borrowed sat, like the ornament borrows the gold in it. That is okay, but it is not swatasiddhaha, it is not self-evident, not self-established truth. No. So this is the example given. Then the second part is, okay, if that is the case, then what is the pramana? Is there something which can give me a proof about an unchanging thing? He says yes. So that is the second quarter of the verse which we will study today. And so there it says, so here he introduces the second quarter of the verse. I'll give you the Sanskrit for it first and then explain it. This is on page 56 of this book. It's the third line from the top. And then he concludes the first quarter on the second line, which says Tasmat up apramanikam. Sorry, tasmad apramanikatvad jagatah swatah satta nasti iti siddham. So he says, therefore we can conclude that anything that you see in front of you does not have its own truth. It is in fact a borrowed truth that may be there, may not be there. So you cannot have any pramana that would say, yes, it is there. You cannot have a pramana for a asataha, for a drishyaha, for something which you are looking at. Everything that you're looking at is just for some fun and games, but it does not really stay. And any kind of a conclusion that you have through your eyes or ears or touch or anything is temporary. So that is not the truth about it. So that's what is the first one. Then now he says in the third line, introducing the second quarter, evam asatah shabdadehe satta abhavam pratipadya. He says by this method, that by the words etc. shabda adihi yasya, shabda sparsha, gandha, rupam, all of these, asatah shabdadehe satta abhavam. It does not have any truth. Iti pratipadya, having explained this already by the previous quarter, idanim, now brahmanaha swaswarupasya sadbhavam pratipadayati. So he says now he teaches that the Brahman, which is swaswarupa, satadha sadbhavam. Sadbhavam means that the experience of truth, which is its own, it is not borrowed. See, this is the truth. If you want something to be truthful, its nature should be truthful. It should not be temporarily truthful. You know that Swami Maheshanji had given this example so beautifully, is that if you look at this paper currency, $100 bill, this is borrowed satyam. You pretend that $100 is how valuable it should be, and it is very valuable. $100 is a lot of money, becoming less and less valuable, but a lot of value to it. But it is all pretend, and it is very vulnerable. Like example, Swami Maheshananji says that the Indian rupee, so if you have a 500 rupee note, it's pretty valuable. But you try to go outside of India and try to use that currency, nobody will accept it. He says, what is this? Now give me some dollars. This is, I don't know what this piece of paper is. He says, wait a second, I've had this paper all my life and 500 rupees is, he said, next, please don't waste my time. Means has no value. So similarly is the sataha of things that you see in your world. Excuse me. So you say this is very true, this is very important, so on and so forth. It's all make-believe. Make-believe. Just a convention. This is what it is. It has no value. The real value is, and if you want to look at the currency, is the gold. So he says that one which is not borrowed truth. So the currency is a borrowed truth. It must have its own value, which is unconditioned by any convention. That truth is only Brahman's. Brahman's means yours. And that is, so the second part is, na sataha vidyate abhavaha. No, see, na abhavaha vidyate sataha. So he says that sataha means the of the sat is the sixth case of sat. Of the sat. Of the sat means the one which has swaswarupa sat. Na abhavaha vidyate. There is no way of eliminating it in any way, because it is its own truth. So that's why he says, idanim brahmanah swaswarupasya sadbhavam pratipadayati na abhavaha. So it's given in here. Why was I looking at someplace else? Na abhavaha vidyate sataha. So I'm going to go skip a couple of lines, then go to the line which says Jagrat. No, wait just a second. Yeah. Jagrat swapna sushuptyadishu sadbhava darshanat Atmanah sada sattve pratyaksham pramanam. This is that is very a key way of looking at it. So pratyaksham pramanam. So let's look at the definition of pratyaksham pramanam. So pratyaksham pramanam means that proof which is always present. The proof of something which is always present is called pratyaksha pramanam. And in the first quarter he said what you think was a pratyaksham pramanam is not pratyaksham pramanam. Why? Because you thought this was silver, and this was negated by your buddhi upon further inquiry to say this is not silver. So we cannot call it pratyaksha pramanam. You can say pratyaksha eva pramanam, like pratyaksha, but it is not. It's just like saying this is the paper currency is like the real currency, but it's not. You can under certain conditions you can because people cannot carry these heavy coins. So there was a convention that why don't we just take these light papers and call this is 100, this is all convention. That you can do. But it's not pratyaksha pramanam. Pratyaksha pramanam means it is always there. It's the real thing. And what is that? So there it says, we can even just go into some explanation of this. Look at something which is always there. And we are so conditioned at not looking at it that when it is first pointed out, we have difficulty. But after we have really been exposed to this for a while, you begin to see, my goodness, how could I miss this? I am. Is not something which comes and goes. This is the pratyaksha pramanam. I am. You see, what I am, where I am, when I am, is all pointing to I am. The I am which is not based on any condition. Not based on my waking state, not based on my dreaming, no violation while I'm sleeping, not violated by my growing up. This is always there. No matter what my stage, my form, my condition, this is the pratyaksha pramanam. This is swaswarupa satta. That I am, that I am conscious, is not dependent on anything. It does not require any condition, any definition. All it requires is to be pointed out by the Shastra through a living Guru. I am. It is not generated by the Shastra. It is not generated by a Guru. It is simply revealed like a light that does not generate a vastu, simply reveals it, that I am has always been true. But I was mistaken about it. My mistake was to see myself in a particular form. So I was focused on my form, the stage I was in. Now I go to the very truth about the forms and stages, the very essence of it. Like I don't just look at the ornamentation, but the substance behind the ornamentation. I am aware. And this has no limitation. There is no end. And it had no beginning. This is the essence of the second quarter of the verse. Na abhavaha vidyate sataha. Of the sat. Sat here means I am. There is never, once you see this, there is never abhavaha. Once you see this, you cannot even make yourself disappear. You cannot say, I'm going to prove that I am not there. You cannot do it. It is not under your control. And if you think you can do it, you are just, it's exactly like saying the room space, saying, I'm going to eliminate space. Foolishness. Once you see that you are space, you are this, that's it. This is what he's saying, that please see this. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptadishu Sadbhava Darshanat Atmanah Sada Sattve Pratyaksham Pramanam. He says this is the Pratyaksham Pramanam. What you thought was the Pratyaksham Pramanam is not. So now he finishes the verse number 16 by going into the second line of the verse number 16. So the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So there it says, उभयोः अपि दृष्टवन्तः. उभयोः अपि दृष्टः अन्तः तु अनयोः तत्वदर्शिभिः. He says that the Tattvadarshi means the one who are able to appreciate the essence of what is true and what is not true. Tattvadarshan, the one who is able to, who has this clear vision of what's going on, who is not confused, who are wise, they are able to see the resolution between what is sat and what is asat. Ubhayoho. Ubhayoho means api. They are able to see what is borrowed truth and what is its own truth. They are able to see this. It's not once you see it, you see it. So that's why he says Ubhayo api. Ubhayo means the first quarter and the second quarter. Asato bhavaha and sataha abhavaha. Ubhayo api. Drishtantaha. Drishtantaha means the one who's resolved. They are the ones who are called Tattvadarshibhi. So that is given in the end of this verse number 16. So I will read the Sanskritam for it. He says, so let me read a very long sentence and then I'll try to explain this. So this is about 10th line or so. Evam सर्व प्रमाणैः निर्धारित नित्य सत्ताकस्य सतः प्रत्यक अभिन्नस्य ब्रह्मणः स्वभावः कदाचित् नास्ति इति तत्त्वदर्शिभिः तत्त्वं सर्व अधिष्ठानभूतस्य ब्रह्मणः याथात्म्यम् अबाधितस्वरूपः सत्य ज्ञान आनंदात्मकः यत्तदेव सदा सर्वत्र द्रष्टुं शीलं येषां ते तत्त्वदर्शिनः तैः ब्रह्मविद्भिः एव उभयोः सदसतोः अन्तः निश्चयः सदा सर्वत्र ब्रह्म एकम एव अस्ति न तथा अन्यदिति निष्कृष्टः दृष्टः कृतः. Long line, but he says that one, the Tattvadarshibhi means the one who are able to ascertain. So antaha here means nishchayaha, who are able to absolutely ascertain, nishchayaha, one who are able to see this very fact. Because once you see this, you cannot negate it. So that is the meaning of the word antaha. Antaha means the end, means an end which which ends in a resolution of any doubt. And so the resolution of the doubt is that I alone am. And I alone is without any limitations. Anantaha. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Aham Satyam. Aham Jnanam. Aham Anantam. So when you are saying Anantam, it does not have any, opponent. That's the word I was looking for. You see, so it is not something, when you say Anantam, so Anantam means there is no Antam. So Antam is an opponent of Anantam. So there is no such thing as Antam. That is the meaning of Anantam. You see? So what it means is that the drishya, what I see around me, is not my opponent. Well, if it is not my opponent, then I still see it. And so is it not something other than me? I am I and this is not I. So isn't it a not I, an opponent of I? No. Because the not I is a reflection. You are comparing two levels of truth. It is exactly like you are looking at yourself in the mirror and you are saying there are two of us. The mirror is not an opponent. The figure in the mirror is not an opponent to you. Swami Dayanand used to say that this is funny math. So 1 plus apparent 1 is not 2. It is still 1. This is a very interesting thing to see that I cannot be many. Swami Shankarananda pointed this out. I'm just going to stay with this for a second. So he says that if you look at Sankhya, what is called Sankhya. Sankhya means a arithmetic addition. Arithmetic addition is called Sankhya. So arithmetic addition means that supposing you have a limited object. So let's just say you have one apple. Now you bring another apple, so your Sankhya increases. Your arithmetic measure increases from 1 to 2. Then you add another apple, then you become 3. So there is in fact a change in the form of Sankhya, isn't it? Sankhya means a measure. So you have 1, then it is 2. It's no longer 1, it is 2 if you're looking at both of them. But if you look at Brahman, which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Brahman means you, the I am. If you add something to I am, it remains as I am, does not increase its sankhya. It's a very beautiful thing to see. You see, I am, you cannot have another I am like another apple. Why? Because I am is anantam. It is infinite, if you want to look at it that way. So mathematically also it also computes. If you add something to infinity, then there is no such thing as infinity plus one. It still is infinity. So this is what is being pointed out. This is a very interesting thing. Look at it here. Look at the last line, and I'll complete this analysis. Just look at the last line on page number 56. So we had already gone through what is the Tattvadarshibihi Sadasatoho Antaha Nishchayaha Sada Sarvatra Brahma Ekam Eva Asti Na Tataha Anyaditi Niskarshaha Drishtaha Kritaha. He says that Darshabhihi sees that, my goodness, nothing can be added or subtracted from I am. My goodness, this is something very special. I am is always there. You add something to it, I'm still there. Still there. You cannot negate it. See the beauty of it. So now the last line. Etena. Etena means, okay, let's finish the whole line and then I'll explain it. Etena Tvamapi Atmanaha Anityatva Brahma Utsrijya Nishokaha Bhutva Sarvam Khaluidam Brahma Ityadi Shruti Artham Avashtabhya Sarvatra Brahma Darshano Paraha Bhava Iti Suchitam Bhavati. So this is Sri Krishna talking to Arjuna. So he says, by all these ways of looking at it, please wake up, please understand that your Tvamapi Atmanaha Anityatva Brahma Utsrijya Nishokaha Bhutva. He says, please don't look upon yourself as something which is anitya, which is not always there. So that Brahma Utsrijya. So cross over that mistake. Brahma means a mistake. It's some kind of a lack of understanding. So he says, finish that. Utsrijya. Nishokaha bhutva. So just become devoid of any dukkha of any kind, because I am is also Ananda Swarupa. If you understand I am in its full glory, there is no touching of any problems. Because the problem is also some kind of a thought which is drishyaha. The drishyaha cannot touch. It's like watching yourself in the mirror and the mirror breaks. And you actually get completely decimated in your reflection, but nothing happens to you. And so now, comes the Shruti Vakya, which gives you the proof for this. He says, Nishokaha bhutva sarvam khalu idam brahma. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Ityadi shruti artham avashtabhya sarvatra brahma darshana paraha bhava iti suchitam bhavati. So he says, what you should do, hey Arjuna, because Bhagavad Gita is a restatement of the Shruti. He says, Shruti says that everything that you see is nothing but your own reflection, and see that the reflection keeps on changing, but I am doesn't change. So you're thinking of who you are, you're kind of looking at yourself in the mirror of this Jagat. That may change, your estimation may change, but who is the person who is doing the estimation? That doesn't change. I am Jnanam. I know. I am knowledge. And this knowledge and I am is my own Swarupa. It is not based on any condition. That I am is the reality. And really everything else resolves in I am. Sarvam khalu idam brahman. That I am. This is the nature. This is the nature of Ishvara. So this I am is not generated by me as a human being. It is the very nature of Brahman, Ishvara, which is my nature. So everything is really Brahman alone. Everything is nothing but Ishvara alone. And that Ishvara, that Brahman, is always there as me, as everybody else. Even I am, my own thinking of who I am as a human being is also a reflection. That also is a reflection. But a reflection of what? A reflection of Brahman, the Sakshi. I am. The essence of the human being is I am. I am aware, my Swarupa is awareness. Does it ever go? This is the Pratyaksha Pramanam. It never can be disturbed. This is what this Shruti Vakyam Avashtabhya Sarvatra Brahma Darshano Parabhava. So he says, you should now look upon everything else also is nothing but you alone, as the very Brahman alone. And base your darshanam, your thinking, your vision, your conclusion on the Shruti Vakya, Sarvam Khalu Brahma alone. Hey Arjuna, this is what you need to do. So stop crying and complaining. You are everything. Everything is but nothing but you. There is no killing involved with anybody. You cannot kill the I am. So with this important verse, verse number 16 is complete. And so we can now move to verse number 17. So let's do that. Avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya asyana kaschit kartum arhati. Exactly a confirmation of what is being said in verse number 16, and a reiteration, a confirmation, a strengthening of it by saying, Avinash, we've already kind of gone over through sort of a sense of meditation. Avinashitu tadviddhi, yena sarvamidam tatam. He says, may you see that one which is present in everything is avinashi. It has no vinasha. It has no destruction. Avinashi tu tadviddhi yena sarvam idam tatam. He says, you are that awareness, that awareful entity. We are, I am, doesn't matter. We're only using some pronouns, you, I, etc. But that entity, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, by which everything is present, tatam, vyaptam, which is in and through everything. This consciousness in the form of I am. The consciousness not in any other vastu, but in your own form, in your own formless form, if you want to call it form. This I am conscious. Just look at this. Is it not present in everything? You look at a past thought, it is present in the past thought. In the present, you open your eyes and the consciousness is not disturbed. You close your eyes and the vision of the eye has been stopped because you're closing it, but there also it is vyaptam, it is enveloped by consciousness, isn't it? Where does the consciousness end? When does it end? Never. Avinashi. You think that this is going to end. All your thinking is that this is nice that we are talking about it, but one day my body is going to disappear. Yeah, body will disappear, but there is no proof that the consciousness can be disappearing, that can be killed, because it is swata siddha. So there is no vinasham. There is a vinasham for the mind. Continuously my thoughts are vinasham. They are getting gone. They are getting destroyed. There is a possibility of a vinasham of the body. Even prana, all of these can go, but not consciousness. Why? Because all these other entities like prana and the mind and the body, they are all made up of some reflecting surface. So the body is made out of annamaya. It is the gross body. And the mind is a subtle body. Similarly, the prana is a very subtle body, but it's a body. It has its existence is based on certain stages, but that is not true of the consciousness. Avinashitu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. He says, how can someone create a destruction of consciousness? Because the consciousness does not have a form that can be killed. In fact, now that I've just talked a little bit about verse number 17, in the next class we will analyze the possibilities of destruction. What are the possibilities of destruction? So this is started on the very last line of the commentary on page 57. Atra, I'll just read it and then I'll explain it next time. Atra atmanaha nasham vadan vadi prashtavyaha kim atmanaha nashaha swataha va parato va kim ashraya nashat va kim sambandhi nashat va uta karana nashat va atha karya nashat va iti. He says that somebody who believes that I can be destroyed, see, atra atmanaha nasham vadi, the one who says, of course, people can be gone. They need to be asked this question. So this is what it means. He says, atra, in this manner, in this matter rather, not in this manner, but in this matter, in this subject matter that we are studying, Atra, here, Atmanaha nasham vadanvadi prashtavyaha. The person who espouses the destruction of someone needs to be asked. We will now examine it step by step. Kim atmanaha nashaha swataha. He says the destruction of the Atma is by itself, paratova, or it is due to something else. Kim ashraya nashatva, because it is dependent on something and that thing that it is dependent on disappears. Is it due to that? Kim sambandhi nashatva, or it is because of a connection to something that it will disappear. Uta karanat nashatva, that its cause has disappeared, therefore it will disappear. Atha karya nashatva, that because it has all these forms and the forms all are gone, therefore it will also disappear. These are the various possibilities. And then he says, no. We will examine each of the possibilities and we will answer each one of them individually. So that we will do next week. Na adyaha niravayavatvat, etc., etc., in the verse number 17. So with that, I close the class today. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Atra, here, So, Maithili's question is Ekanta solitude. So Ekanta is, as I was explaining, all these words have, whether they are in, generally speaking, if they are translated in a non-Sanskritam language like English or something, especially English and others, do not rightly convey the meaning because they are all based on our previous experiences with that name. So, for example, solitude. Solitude is actually a better word than loneliness, certainly. So let's look at the word solitude. So solitude would mean something which is devoid of company, but in a very positive way. Loneliness means that I need company. Solitude might mean that I don't have company, but I'm okay with it, isn't it? It's a little bit more positive aspect of that. Ekanta, on the other hand, the real meaning of ekanta, which is really what we were talking about, desha, and we will look at it more in the next week on kala, means I alone am everything. And I think this person, I don't know who Axtrism is, but Purnamadav Purnamidam is really doing exactly the same thing. So ekantaha means purnaha. Purnaha. So this we will probably explain this verse some other time. Swami Akhandananda ji has taken a very beautiful way of looking at Purnamadav Purnamidam. I'll go over that in some other time. But for now, yes, I would say ekantaha in its true means I am purnaha, I am complete. And as complete means there's no question of being solitude or anything. I am everything. You recognize that in the understanding, which is the final understanding which we are all moving towards, but that is the truth. And so that is the meaning of ekanta, and not exactly the loneliness or the solitude that we associate the word with. That would be my meaning. Okay. This is Poonam. Okay. Poonam, I need to apologize to you because you had written to me about the Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira, and a few things, and I meant to look at it in the Thursday's classes on Sri Rudram, but I forgot. I did send you some basic material to look at, the Tattva Bodha, but I meant to also talk about it, and I forgot to do so. So I will do so in the next Thursday class. I hope I forget to do so. So yeah, but you're right, the Purnamadav, it's a very beautiful, very important verse really to understand. And I think that I've given you a hint of the Purnamadav by this Sankhya example, that it is already infinity and you cannot add to it. The more you add to it, it stays the same. This staying the same is a very important aspect that needs to be revealed and understood, and we will do so. So, Poonam, you said, could you please send me the recordings you mentioned? So I had not yet talked about the Sukshma Sharira, etc. So I'm not talking about that recording. On the next Thursday class, please look for it. I will hopefully remember to talk about the bodies, the three bodies. Okay. But other than that, I've already given you Swami Paramarthananda's text on Tattva Bodha that you should be able to see. Poonam and Purnam are the same. Yes, good point. All right. there is no other comments or questions, then I will close the class and I will see you next week. Hari Om.